Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's live. I have so much to say today. I hope you guys will stick around. If you guys have any questions, please put them in there. Put QQQ, question, whatever. And I'd be happy to get to them. First thing we're just going to get right off the bat is my husband gave me pink eye. I don't know. He wears contacts and he got him an eye infection. I think he wears them way too long and he gave it to me. So please try to disregard, and I will look for wetting drops or something that will help this before we go live on Thursday. Thursday, I'm going to be going live with Zane Griggs. We're going to be discussing what's happening in the carnivore community, which we can also discuss today as well if you guys have questions about that. And of course, I have a couple quick comments about that. I also have a video coming up about my thoughts about that. And the guilt has been strong for a long time because there's been many kinks in the carnivore community recently since the beginning of the year. And I'm going to say one of the kinks was definitely me saying, hey, carnivore didn't work for me, but these peptides sure do. We're going to do a fun little experiment here. I recently got, if you guys don't know about the Tastee air fryer, it is the best air fryer. And it's not a joke. They did send them to all the carnivore people. And so, obviously we would share that. However, I've got to say, I've tried the most amazing air fryers and they all smoke. Because I cook a lot of meat. Meat has a lot of fat. Fat, sparks up to the top. And then next thing you know, the dang thing is smoking your house out. And I bought stainless steel ones. I've bought the whole range of all of the air fryers, and Tastee is the only one. I've been using it every day for a year and a half, and it's still not smoking for us anyway. The basket for us is very sturdy. We put it in the dishwasher. I don't know if it's dishwasher safe, but that's what we've been doing. So really easy for people like me. I have two preteen. I have a 14 and a 12-year-old, and they cook in it every single day. So it's easy for them to just click and grab and use it. There's so many different settings. My husband went fishing in Alaska. We took the fish out of the freezer, put it in there, and just cooked it, and it came out absolutely perfect every time. We do the same thing with steaks, and I love to cook picanha in there. I love my Tastee. Well, they just came out with a new thing, so we're going to test it out today. It is this incredibly fancy thermos, and it can keep the temperature. I suppose I should put the product in it first. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to put my coffee in here, and then we're going to see if it keeps the temperature and how it works by the end of this live stream. When you look at the cup, you're thinking, that is so small. Because when you look in here, the cup size is actually down to here. And you're like, what? That's so small. But reality is, I used this on the swim meet on Saturday, and I put an entire bowl of soup in here. An entire bowl fit in this thing. So it's much bigger than it looks. So you put your liquid or your soup or whatever you want to keep hot in there, which is so nice because how many people you get your coffee. I honestly will be sitting here at the desk with this. You get your coffee in your coffee cup, you take a sip, and then you get to work and you go back and the coffee's cold. And you're like, there goes a whole cup of coffee. And coffee's kind of spendy. Okay, so my plan is to keep the coffee warm with this. So it charges with a USB-C, can keep things warm up to 8 hours. You hit the power button. You pick the temperature you want. It has a really nice, why is this not working? Maybe I did something wrong. Hold on. I am not tech savvy. Am I on carnivore? That is a good question. Okay, so I'm going to pick my temp. Okay, and then to lock it in, I hit the button again. It tells you what the actual temp of the stuff is, and it's going to bring that temp up, and then it's going to maintain it there. So I'll let you guys know towards the end. Are we at 150? We'll open it up. It has a nice spout to drink out of right here, or you can open it up and eat. You can take the cap off. Okay, so let's get into some stuff. Okay, let's see what you guys. When my air fryer dies, I will get a Tastee. So there is a link down below to save $30 off the Tastee, and they're working as we speak on a discount code for this thermos. And I got to tell you, it is the fanciest thing. If you're trying to figure out what could I get somebody that's really special that they definitely don't have, I would honestly get them this thermos. It's so fancy. It came in the most beautiful box. It came in this gorgeous sexy box. So Okay, I know. That's why I wasn't going to use this camera, you guys. I'm sorry I was a few minutes late. I was trying to use the camera in the living room so you could see something besides my backdrop. And then I couldn't get it to work. I couldn't get the mics to connect. And I'm like, this is so a Tuesday. It feels like a Monday, doesn't it? Let's see here. So yes, the carnivore community is giving me a bit of grief. So am I still carnivore? I guess technically I'm not, but I'm still pretty low carb. I had the gastric bypass, and ever since then, I've had reactive hypoglycemia. So I personally have to be really, really, really careful with carbohydrates. And that's part of the reason that I went carnivore, was to get relief from this reactive hypoglycemia. I did have some episodes on carnivore with reactive hypoglycemia, which started the wheels turning of like, maybe this isn't completely food-based. And as I keep going on and doing some of my experiments, I'm finding that my reactive hypoglycemia is very, very stress-based. So like my events often will happen when I'm in public with my kids, because my body can feel the stress of Porter touching everything, and then a 3-year-old running around, and then them fighting, and the noise, and then my 12-year-old going, can we get this? Can we get this? And so the reactive hypoglycemia often happens when we're out. And although I'm trying to stay cool and calm as a clam, my body senses that and has a trouble with cortisol, and I will have the hypoglycemia. So we can get into the carnivore thing. It's a tough conversation, because the truth is that I think carnivore is a great diet for the short run, for sure. It gives you a break from symptoms quickly. It quickly gives you a break. It quickly allows you to just take a breath. Prior to carnivore, every single time I ate, I was having food reactions. I was ending up in bed. Thank you, Lewis. 70% meat is considered carnivore, so I guess technically I'm still carnivore. Although I think the carnivore police would give me citations. So where was I going with that? Anywho, one of the indications of maybe all of my problems aren't from carbs was still having hypoglycemic events, although very rare. They were still happening on carnivore. And then to add the GLP-1 and just feel regulated when you eat food, that was another indicator of me of the food isn't the problem. Something going on in my body is the problem. And I want to go deeper into that on another time, but I do just want to say that not everybody has to add a GLP-1 necessarily. I think there's some cases, like I don't regret what I did. I think what I did was what's right for me. But some people in this space who are adding carbohydrates didn't struggle with obesity. They didn't struggle with blood sugar issues their whole life. They didn't struggle with necessarily food noise their whole life. Maybe they were looking to be fitter. Maybe they were looking to be, carnivore is considered an optimal health diet. It's considered the cleanest way to eat. And so like people who are just overachievers, that's a different category than people who've struggled their entire life. But there are different things I believe you could probably heal by going through the bioenergetic route. And that's definitely worth looking into. You could look up Mike Fave, Jay Feldman, and there's a few others. So definitely glucose is still in the too harbor. Carbs aren't necessarily a problem. Yes, some people go carnivore and keto and they still have the high glucose numbers. I know for me, I was struggling to continue. So, okay, I have a lot of things organized in here to say. Let me find that, because otherwise I can go in circles, because there's a lot to unpack here. There's so many videos right now about this. I think that I see a lot of carnivores panicking. And I think the number one thought that comes to mind when I see some of the longer term carnivores panicking is that some people are perfectly fine and they're good with their diet. Some people are still struggling, and then they just keep trying to do the same things over and over again to stop struggling, but the struggle is still there. And it kind of reminds me of even low calorie. The Biggest Loser, you go low calorie, you're able to lose some weight. It works until it doesn't, until your body adjusts to that. You then try to chase that again and again and again. And every time you chase it, it just stops working. It just gets further and further and further down the road. And I feel for some conditions on carnivore, it's the same way. In the beginning, you see this elation, you see this absolute relief, but then your body adjusts. There's an adjustment. And so then you don't get the same reactions when you keep trying to do the same things. So when I was carnivore, what I did then to try to find that same thing was join challenge after challenge and try harder and harder each time. I tried sardine challenges. I tried water fasting. I tried walking half marathons every single day. I tried the lion diet. And one of the biggest pushbacks I get from people, and it's so funny because it's dudes, it's always dudes. And they're like, you just didn't have a good coach like me. You did it wrong. Are you kidding me? I had Dr. Lisa, I had Kelly Hogan, I had Danny Conway, I had the best coaches. It's not a coaching problem. And no, I didn't do it wrong. It didn't work for me in the long run. I have some comments referring back to when it was working for me, because it did. I mean, that's not a lie. It did work for me for a long time. It felt really good. I felt like I was in control. I started having some peace. I got that rest that I really needed, like I said, because I was getting food reactions every time I ate. And it just gave me rest and recharge and hope. Because when you're sick all the time, you just start to wonder if you're ever going to get out of that. When you're having chronic weight gain all the time, you just wonder if that's ever going to stop. And for me, in the beginning, carnivore did that for me. That gave me that break and that hope that if I find the right thing out there, I am going to master this. I'm not stuck. So if anybody's considering doing it, I say, I think you should give it a try. I just wouldn't make it your lifelong plan, because there is mounting evidence that it's not a good lifelong plan, just like the sugar diet isn't a good lifelong plan. And the funny thing is, we look at the sugar diet and we go, clearly that's not a good idea long term. Clearly. And the evidence quickly came out that it's not a good long-term plan, although in the short term, it was an interesting experiment. And people outside the carnivore community could easily look at eating nothing but meat and go, clearly that's not a good long-term plan. But once you're in it and you start feeling it, you're like, no, this is the best plan ever. So I could go on and on about this. I see a lot of, when you watch the videos of people who are like, everybody's not leaving, I need this. They will refer back to symptoms that they were having when they first went on it. And what I would like to know is, how is that today? And I would also like to know, what is your reverse T3? What is your T3 free? I would like to know what your sex hormones look like and what your sleep looks like. Because generally speaking, those are some of the things to go in the long run on this diet. And, Dr. Lisa just created a great video. It posted like 9 days ago with Zane Griggs, and she brought up clips of different carnivores, previous and former and current, and them talking about what's been going on with them and how they've made some alterations. I also spoke with Lisa. She had mentioned she's starting the new group, and she had 1,000 inquiries to join her new group. And her current group averaged around 100 to 200 people. So she had a significantly more interest in her new group than the current group. And maybe that's because there's a lot of great carnivore coaches out there and people move between groups. And I don't know, there could be many reasons for that. But it seems like I'm not the only one who struggled. I'm not the only one who needed a little bit more. There's science is coming out of why someone might start having issues. And my number one question for everyone who's like, carnivore is perfect, I don't know if anybody's saying that, but is, do we know people who in the long run have healed chronic fatigue syndrome? That is my big question, because the science indicates that in the long run, this would make chronic fatigue syndrome worse. That's one of the things that I came into it with, was adrenal issues and chronic fatigue syndrome. And it seemed to get better for a time, and then it definitely got worse, like bedridden 1/3 of my life worse. And I ignored it. I figured it was the mold. I blamed everything else. And we moved out of a mold-free home, which was another thing. Like, okay, I blamed everything on the mold and I ignored that potentially my very restrictive diet was part of the problem. Because now we live in a mold-free home and I still was having those issues. So I had to face it. So people are like, oh, you just leaned into your addiction. No, I didn't. I actually had to look myself in the eye, not the pink one. And I had to say, Adrienne, this isn't working. I don't know what the next thing is because we thought this was the thing. And if you ask anybody I know, they're going to say how I evangelized them on carnivore. Like I have a friend who had gallbladder issues and I was like, you just need to go carnivore. Not exactly like that because we know carnivore can actually aggravate the gallbladder symptoms, and you just need to eat more fat and exercise that muscle. And I look back and I'm like, oh, she probably just, I caused every issue anybody had. I was like, you should try carnivore. So to have to look myself in the eye and say, I think I need something else, it was a really tough conversation. And to be honest, it took over a year for me to actually warm up to it, even though I knew it. So the issues, I think I went Lion Diet in February 2024. That's when I knew restriction wasn't my problem. It wasn't a lack of restriction. I wasn't not healing because I wasn't restricting hard enough because I lioned. I tracked everything. You can go watch the videos. There's a playlist about Lion Diet. I mean, I was so type A on my Lion Diet. I tracked everything. I posted it every day. And when that crashed my hormones and my thyroid and I just went into this hyperinflammation state, that's when I had to wake up. But it took time. So next thing I did, look into the thyroid, look into the hormones, gave that some time, and then eventually found out about GLP-1 and how it's a peptide and not necessarily this awful, evil drug, and that it's a hormone signaler that helps other things communicate, how it could help me with my inflammation. It could help with the food noise, but it could also help with my blood sugar issues from my gastric bypass and the chronic weight gaining. And so then we tried that. And then time went on, and I started realizing my body was processing food better because I was able to stop tracking and not gain weight. I was able to stop walking a half marathon a day and not gain weight. Where on the carnivore diet, if I wasn't walking that much every day, I was gaining weight. If I wasn't tracking, I was gaining weight. The inflammation swings were crazy. My cycles went from 28 to 21 days. If you look up Sarah Kleiner, is that her name? Sarah Kleiner. She, I guess, is the only other person I've heard of that's talked about the fact that when you cut all fiber, it can affect a woman's hormone balance because there are certain fibers that pull excess estrogen and toxic estrogen through the digestive system and out the chute. And so when you go zero fiber and you have hormone issues and you have excess estrogen and you're not detoxing it, you're recycling it, and the problem's getting worse and worse and worse. Thus why 10 days into the diet or 10 months into the diet, I ended up going from 28-day cycles to 21-day cycles and having hyperinflammation and chronic fatigue and all the issues that have been plaguing me ever since then. So she talks about the fiber. Apparently we do need fiber. I gotta say, when I removed the fiber, it was so glorious. I don't know about anybody else. When you first remove the fiber and you go from chronically constipated to easy moves, it's delightful. But now I'm learning there's some gut healing that needs to happen when we have slow motility. There's some thyroid that needs to be checked when we have slow motility, and that there's healing that can happen, and that just avoiding it doesn't necessarily heal it. Okay, I told you guys I could rant a long time. I'm so sorry. There's way more to that story. Zane and I are going to talk about it. It's interesting. He just helped with the documentary Animal. And so I thought there's no way that a guy like that could understand me. And he just started talking and I was like, oh my gosh, there's another person that understands. When you add a GLP-1, and maybe this isn't true for everyone, but it was for me, and realizing my body was processing food better, I didn't have to do extreme things anymore. I could kind of like live my life now because I'm not walking 3 to 4 hours a day, and I'm not tracking every single thing I do, and I'm not incessantly planning everything and scolding myself for eating things that were off plan, constantly telling myself it's not time to eat every 3 minutes. when you get your life back, then I forgot where I was going with that. I know some of the carnivores, they will say, but I don't want to take something for the rest of my life. But many of them are taking vitamin D, iodine, taurine, creatine. They're taking different things and they're fine with taking that. Well, what if you could take something that would completely change most things that you're really struggling with? And it turns out it's a peptide. And your body has peptides everywhere, and you're supplementing a deficiency, and it gets the rest of the hormones to communicate. And what if that same peptide also reduces your chance of a half a dozen cancers? Not to mention the obesity, reducing the visceral fat. That was one thing. On the carnivore diet, my visceral fat was going up. Despite eating incredibly clean, dairy-free most of my carnivore, sweetener-free most of my carnivore, and my visceral fat was going up. There was a podcast I listened to today by it was a carnivore couple. Let me see if I can look it up. And they're very carnivore-y. They're still very carnivore-y. So if you're carnivore and you would like some validation, but also to know a little bit more about what I'm saying, I highly suggest you look these guys up. It is JJ and Eric. Carnivore. Not eating the and they have this blood sugar level on carnivore is a big red flag. And for them, they explain how their fasted A1 or their fasted glucose has been going up, and it's now over the 105. And that's concerning because according to Dr. Boz, when it's over 105, then it can turn into fructose, they said, and then that can turn into some plaque in your bloodstream, or it can cause the visceral fat. There are ramifications of having a chronically high rested glucose. And so if that's where you are all the time, you can still, even if it's on a keto or carnivore diet, it can still equate to issues, despite carnivore saying that it doesn't, because our red blood cells live longer. Which leads me into one more thing. I have heard some crazy things throughout the years. One, that our thyroid numbers, they don't matter because we're carnivore. So it doesn't matter. Well, I would agree with you unless you're symptomatic. Then I think that your thyroid numbers do matter if you're symptomatic. And I kind of question if they matter both ways, because if you're low thyroid, again, you're having the low motility, you're having potentially issues converting things into sex hormones. So your sex hormones might be lower, your sleep might be lower. There's a lot of things there, but yeah. So visceral fat was going up. Okay. What else did I want to tell you guys about? I want to tell you, I just got Jenny Mitich's new book. And I know you're probably thinking, but you're not even carnivore, but I am. I still am very carnivore. I did add some fruit, and I guess I'd have to track again. When I think the day I tracked, I had 68 grams of carbohydrates. I tracked for like a week, a couple weeks ago, and I think I was between 60 and 100 carbs because my gastric bypass, I'm slower than other people. I literally started with like 4 blueberries because of these events that I get. So I have something that you probably don't have, and it's not a good thing, that I cannot go fast because I have been low and zero carb for so many years that I don't think my pancreas works very well. And then we need to just slow step that muscle back into producing, the correct digestive hormones to regulate the blood sugar. So I've been going nice and slow. So anyway, I do eat some carbohydrates, but my family and I still value how nutrient dense meat is and how good it is for our brains, for our bones, for our muscle, how many, bioavailable nutrients are in it, how it's just less. They definitely do, unfortunately, feed our animals crud, and they inject them with a lot of things. So we're not saying that meat is perfect, but it seems to be a lot better than so many plants that are being grown in depleted soils, sprayed with tons of stuff, genetically modified. I don't know. Meat still seems like a good winner to me, and I think it's important. I think it might be part of the reason I maintained my metabolism while on a GLP-1, and I believe I maintained my muscle according to my DEXAs, according to my scale. I've been doing good. Anyway, this book is absolutely gorgeous. And I was listening to the girls, Courtney, Britt, Jenny, and Serena they posted a video on Serena's channel yesterday or a couple days ago, and I was watching that. And she said that she has 80 recipes in here. So she has both recipes, but also some information on I guess, the science behind it. But my family's more interested in, Mom, please stop making us ground beef for dinner. Like, could you make us something with some flavor? And I also have struggled with being able to just eat plain meat like I used to. So it looks like we have some pretty simple ones, and then we get into some more fun things, cheese-filled crepes. If you pre-order, you get a handout. Ooh, she's got cinnamon rolls. And ooh. I don't know if I'm supposed to be showing all of this like this, but spicy mayo chicken sliders. It looks like tortilla chips. Those are gorgeous. Anyway, she is a superwoman, and I really think that we should go support her. Pre-orders mean everything. She is such an inspiration to me. Every single video she does is so thought out and professional. All of her experiments are very thought out. Everything that she does in life is very meticulous, and this book is no different. The pages feel amazing. The pictures, the quality, this is a really nice book. So go out on Amazon and get your copy. Okay, let's see what you guys have to say over here. Anything going on? Did I miss anything? I haven't missed much. Been watching your interviews from former Biggest Loser contestants and watching their seasons. Thank you. Yeah, I've been I should probably get back on those. It's kind of hard to get them to talk, to be honest. Some people love to talk from The Biggest Loser, and some people have a lot of hurt. They have a lot of hurt. And in my defense, my season was 19 years ago. So although I did hide for 8 years and I had a lot of shame and I felt like an absolute failure, and it took almost a decade for me to turn that around, we're now turning that around. And so not everybody, some of the seasons were, I was season 3. So there's 18 seasons. So some people are 15 years after me? 14 years after me? I mean, way after. And so I think a lot of people are still healing. It's very interesting too, how only certain seasons want to talk and then other seasons don't want to talk. So I just wonder behind the scenes if there was so much game playing that they just don't want to talk about it. And there's just, yeah. I mean, can you imagine, many of you are on your weight loss journey. Many of you, I personally talked to you, you've gained and lost 50 pounds or more multiple times. And even in your local communities, sometimes it's hard to continue to even want to leave your house when you're on an up. And I'm so grateful right now. I've been maintaining really well since February. Even doing some hormone experiments because we're still trying to figure out this estrogen dominance. Even, that spiked a little bit of inflammation, but it came right back off. There's so many tools in my toolbox right now that if I need them, I can pull them. Like if I feel really inflamed, I could take some BPC 157 or some KPV. If my gut isn't feeling well, which my gut's been pretty great since my 3rd round of BPC. But if I did, I could go back to BPC and work on letting it calm down and heal. If I felt like I was low energy, I could give something like, I'll tell you guys what I took today. I took Tesofensine. And if you haven't heard of that, be careful, okay? Like, I'm going to give you the good and the bad. The good is that you feel like you can get everything done. If anybody else out there struggles with, they call it brain fog, but to me, it feels very dementia-like, where you have a difficulty reading, you have a difficulty doing any computer work, you find all of the tabs overwhelming, you find having to pay bills and book trips overwhelming, you struggle to remember like something that you need to do will come to the mind and it'll be gone a half a second later and you'll be like, where did it go? If you have stuff like that, like I do, if you take Tesofensine, it makes you feel right back. It reminds me of when I was like 16 and I could like journal everything and do everything and multitask everything and just go nonstop. That's what it reminds me of. So today I paid my bills. I also pulled all of my accounts to balance my business account. I reset passwords. I ordered pictures from all the different schools because my kids go to 3 different schools. That also requires 3 different yearbooks. And so all this stuff, I was just doing all of it, getting organized, and that's all because of Tesofensine. and it's amazing, and it's oral. So if you're not a pinner, I like to call it pinning instead of injecting. I love Tesofensine. My warning is that you don't need to take it every day, and you can overdose. It has a 10-day half-life. So if you're like me and you didn't know, and you take 500 milligrams every single day, or is it micrograms? 500 milli or micros? I don't know right now. I'm sorry. One of those two. I took 500 every day for about 2 weeks. And all of a sudden I started noticing you're just laying in bed thinking about all the things that you should be doing, and the sleep never turns on. It just never turns on. And if you do fall asleep, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and you're like, I should just go do dishes and organize the sock drawer. And you just feel like you should keep going and going and going and going. Like it lights up your brain, but in a really good way, like where it feels like you're human again. So don't take too much. For me, that's like, I will take 500 every 2 weeks. If I need a spot check in there, which I rarely do, I'll take a 250. If you want to know where I get my Tesofensine from, you got to log into radicallyhealthy.com, the free community. It's pinned on the resources. I use only American-made companies, no fillers, highly tested stuff. And we can't talk about it here. And while I'm at it, we can't talk about this at all on Meta. I'm part of multiple affiliate groups, and people are being deleted, and they are so upset. 60,000, 100,000 subscribers being deleted because they talked about peptides. And Tesofensine isn't a peptide, but it's in that category. I know it's the same thing with, we're not supposed to talk about telehealth. Speaking of, I will tell you guys, I am still with joinmochi.com, and I still highly recommend them. I have been out there researching. I'm about to interview Sabina. She is the owner and creator of GLP-winner.com. And so we're going to talk about her website, also her journey, which is quite amazing. But even doing all this research, even looking on there, I'm not seeing reputable sites that are more affordable. And Mochi is affordable. It's using some of the largest compounding facilities in the nation, so they can service all 50 states. I hear a lot of people saying their local compounding pharmacies will no longer do GLP-1, but Mochi works with the largest ones who will submit to USP standards. If they want to be audited, they will let it be audited. It's an open book. They're doing everything to the T so that they don't get shut down, because we know they're under attack. They also have other amazing services, and they're adding hormone replacement therapy. So they also have hair treatment. So if you've had some hair loss, they have the oral Mindoxidil. I always say it wrong. Mindoxidil. They have NAD+, the cheapest I've seen it anywhere. For my state, it's $129 for 1,000 milligrams. If I go to get that infused, that's $1,000 minimum. And we're getting it through Mochi for $129. They used licensed practitioners, and I'm loving them. Every day they're growing, they're expanding, and they're starting in certain states to send the blue thermos back out. And I don't have one next to me, but I love the blue thermos. So cutest packaging, and you get to keep it, and then you can travel with it. Yes, NAD+. It is, thank you, Lewis. It's an amazing one. It's something naturally that we have, but as we get older, our levels deplete. And by supplementing it, a lot of people feel a boost of energy, a boost of everything starting to communicate again. And it feels pretty amazing. And let's see here. I think ever write a book, Adrian? Your participation in your season is awesome. Your book would be epic. Perhaps you're wanting to put it behind you now. No, I would totally write a book. It'd be fun. People, you guys don't even know. Before I even went on The Biggest Loser, I had such a crazy life at the time. These days, you would look at that and go, oh, that happens all the time. But in the 80s and 90s, what I grew up in and what my life was like was very rare. My mom left and ran away with the fair. And no, she ran away with the fair before. And then when I was born, she left. And then she left my dad and became a lesbian for a good 20 years before she married her husband, Carrie. I shouldn't tell people that. She doesn't want me to tell people that. Scratch that. I will have to go back and delete that. Anyway, I was raised by a single dad. And I grew up on the North Shore of Lake Superior, which is the largest freshwater lake in the world. And I got to play all kinds of sports, but I had all my struggles. And so I don't remember exactly why people said that I should write a book, but I think that there were a lot of events growing up. There was a meme that recently came up, and it said something to the extent of, people who've been through a lot, they're often the overachievers because we thrive in overcoming. It was something like that. It was pretty epic. But then you add The Biggest Loser, and then you add the keto, the carnivore, the divorces, the only one divorce, praise the Lord. And it's been a crazy life. And I'm grateful for every second because it got me to where I am today. And today I get to help people every day. If you guys go to Radically Healthy, there is a free community and there's also a private community. And I've got to say, I was blessed with the best people in the whole wide world. I truly, truly feel that deeply in my soul. And we have meetings twice a week and I get to hear how they're doing. So many people have hit their goal when they never hit their goal on keto or carnivore. So many people have found peace and healing. And it's really exciting when you take off this huge layer of struggle because you're already doing so many of the right things and they're just not working because the body isn't communicating well. And you get the body to communicate well and you get to your goal and we get to start working on other things like that knee pain, like our strength, like our sleep, like that brain fog we've had. And it's really tough to get to really, really focus on those other things when you're a chronic weight gainer and a binge eater. It's really, really hard because every day you have to stay on top of that or you're going to be 330 pounds. So it is an amazing place. And if you guys are looking for any support, I highly suggest you join our group, the free group, the private group. We also have one-on-ones. And so we can just hone in on what you have going on and just get you organized. If you're not sure where to start or what to do, I would be happy to help you any way I can. Of course, I am not a doctor and it is not medical advice, but I give an email afterwards of where I got everything. If you'd like to further research things or just I always give options too of what could be best for you to consider. And it's a lot of fun. I have the best job ever. Can anyone point me to a video that shows or explains how to add Bactostack water to my peptide powder? It's so confusing to me. This is a great question. And I don't have anything to constitute at this moment. But I'll pretend with you for a second. And I wish I had a video. I mean, I feel like a lot of people have done videos, but here's what I do. I look at how much is in the vial. Let's say we're taking C-Max, which helps you with brain clarity. And you would often take 1 milligram each time you're taking C-Max. And there's 10 milligrams in a vial. So I know 1 milligram times 10, there's 10 servings in here. I just personally go, what is an easy math for that? 10. If I were to pull 10 units times 10, it's 100 units, and I put 1 milliliter in the vial. And you just gently roll it, don't shake it, gently roll it. Also, we're not keeping our backwater in the fridge. We're keeping our unused backwater in the cupboard. Once we crack the top, we're using this within 30 days and we're discarding what we didn't use. That's best practice. And then once we constitute our peptide, we're putting that in the fridge. I bought a label maker, which I don't have right here, but it was in my last video by Amazon, and it was only $18, and it feeds right from my phone. And so then I will print a label that says the date I constituted something, how much water I added, how many units I want to take. And if you're like, hey, whatever math you just said, it sounded like this, mom. I would go to radicallyhealthy.com, and in the menu, there's a free calculator. And you can put in there, I have 10 milligrams. I want to add 2 milliliters of water. I want to take 1 milligram, and it'll tell you how many units to take. It's just a simple math calculator. Again, it's not medical advice, but that's what I suggest. I personally keep my unconstituted peptides in the fridge, personally. I know some people put them in the freezer, but there is some concern for when you thaw it. There could be moisture, which could deteriorate. So I just You either keep them in the cupboard, the freezer, or the fridge. I picked the fridge because it's in the middle and I feel the safest there. So I have a whole drawer full of peptides there, and that's what I do. Then, some people say to use your constituted peptides within 30 days. I think it depends on the peptide. Like MOTS-C, I try to use it within a week or two. Some of the other ones are just, cagrilinotide has a different pH that it likes. So I try to use that one within 30 days, but I'm not going to lie. Sometimes it lasts 60. And there's others that feel like they last forever. But just keep your eye out for any strings, keep your eye out for fog, and use good cleaning practices, keep it out of the light. I like to use like a black container or an envelope to keep everything out of the light, to keep it as good as possible for as long as possible. Bill loves carnivore. That is awesome. Good for you. I gotta say, in my group, just to be clear, most of the group is carnivore, strict carnivore. And I have to say, and I'm going to be the only one out there that's going to maybe say it, except Dr. Jones says it too. I think that carnivore plus GLP-1 is a winning ticket if you're already carnivore, because it keeps you mentally where you feel the safest. You're focusing on protein. You're eating filling foods. You're less likely to fall off and derail and then slow your weight loss down. You're keeping yourself nourished. You're more likely to stay on a lower dose because you're eating such filler food. I think it's a winning ticket. But then many people, as they go along, they start feeling more comfortable and doing experiments with hopefully whole foods carbs. One more thing about the carb talk. When I cut carbs, we started cutting things back on Biggest Loser. That was mostly fat. Then when I had gastric bypass, that's when I started really cutting the carbs because of the hypoglycemia. The first things I removed were the starches and the sugars. And I left myself with the very, very low glycemic things. Green beans, lettuce, some squash, but some squash is higher. So I didn't eat a ton of squash. So we're leaving down with these lower energy vegetables, which, as we know, can also come with the anti-nutrients. And when I'm adding carbs back, I'm going to be totally honest. I've flipped the script. I'm looking to feed my thyroid some energy and to give my body a break. And so I've gone for the fruit, the rice, the potato. And I got to tell you, when I ate potato the first time, it felt like a sin. And I couldn't believe how my body handled it and how good it felt. I also couldn't believe that I did not binge potatoes, because I always thought that would be a very bingy food. It is bingy if it's soaked in fat and covered in salt. But if you're just eating potato with a little bit of salt and pepper and maybe a little bit of butter, it's not as bingy as it was in my head. And so now, and why did I add carbs? I don't know if I mentioned this. Not only was my brain starting to go, my body could process these, but then I started working with different practitioners on, why am I not getting better? Like, why am I still having these hormone issues and this chronic fatigue? And several practitioners and friends told me it is the stress your body is experiencing. And one of those stresses can be living in gluconeogenesis, using those stress hormones to function, to create blood sugar, because we need blood sugar to live. And that if I were to give my body a little bit of relief, that could bring some of the stress down on my body. And so that's why I slowly was adding things that specifically could de-stress my body and give me some energy. I think a lot of things release GLP-1 naturally, which is why I'm really not into the different teas, different foods that Big Food is coming up with that are GLP-1. I'm not into the different supplements that naturally increase your natural GLP-1. If people want to boost their natural GLP-1, eat carnivore. And that's not a joke. I think that because it moves so slowly through your digestive system, it really, really pushes the GLP-1, which is why people feel so full in the beginning, and why they have food noise reduction in the beginning. Now, if people have continued food noise reduction, I think that's a great sign that you're a pretty good GLP-1 producer. But if that food noise comes back, that to me is a red flag that you probably have an overgrowth of some enzymes that are breaking down your natural GLP-1 and prohibiting it from really leaving your stomach and getting to your pancreas and your bones and your brain and all the other organs. So you are correct. Fat and meat, I know you didn't say meat, but fat and meat definitely increases our natural GLP-1. The problem isn't the natural GLP-1. The problem is the signaling not getting away from the stomach, the signaling not getting to the pancreas, the signaling not getting to the brain, leaving us hungry, 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 hungry. There's more to that story though, and we'll talk about that soon. Oh, yes. Okay. So one thing I didn't mention is every time we do anything with a vial, you want to pull air into your syringe and put the air into the vial that you're about to pull out. Because if we just pull and pull and pull, it becomes a vacuum inside the vial. And actually, to begin with, it's often a vacuum. So you'll notice when you put your liquid in there, that it'll just pull the syringe by itself because it's vacuumed in there. And not everything is vacuum, but it's usually has a pretty decent vacuum. So be sure as you're grabbing your liquid out, you pulled air in, you pushed air into your liquid, you pulled the liquid out, you put your liquid in here. So you're helping this vacuum. We're grabbing more liquid, pulling air into our syringe. We're putting the air into the vial. Then we're pulling out the liquid. So we're replacing what we're taking out, and so that we don't create a vacuum in here. Let's see here. Protein raises your blood sugars. It definitely can. Putting room air in the vial could cause bacteria formation much quicker. I'm sure that's true. I haven't seen that be an issue, but naturally in the air, there are particles and things floating around for sure. And as we know, also our skin has, staph and different bacteria on it all the time. So we just want to be really careful. I got to be honest, as you go on and you do things like BPC 157, or you do things like bioregulators and you take them twice a day, some of the good practices kind of go out the door. And you realize this stuff is much more resilient than you think it is. But I do think that it's very important to be cognizant and to be careful. You are totally right. Ooh, one thing I want to share with you guys that's coming up. See, the best part, I think, there's no doubt here. The best part of carnivore is the community. The reason so many people are successful is because the community is so amazing. It's filled with, unless you go on the World Carnivore Tribe on Facebook, that's where the keyboard warriors are, and it's a really ugly place there. Whew, that place can be brutal. But if you go to an actual meetup, you get the best people in the world. And some of my best friends are from these meetups. And we do have a meetup coming up. Let's see if my stuff loaded very well. Coming up is the Hack Your Health Conference. If you haven't bought your ticket yet, they are very spendy because it went up over time and they're at the max price. But if you use BL Carnivore, which I should probably get that changed a little bit, BL GLP-1, BL Adrian, I don't know. It's BL Carnivore for now. That'll save you $100 off your ticket. But I want to tell you, if you email Adrian at radicallyhealthy.com, I know someone who will sell their ticket to you for what she paid, and she bought it the very first minute you could. So I think she's selling it for $100 instead of, I think if you use my coupon code, it's $250 right now. But I want to share with you, I've gone to Hack Your Health every year since I started. So I've gone 2 years. And the first year I went, I didn't know anybody. So if you're out there and you're like, but I don't know anybody. Yeah, neither did I. And it was still the best time ever. And I still ended up at the craziest dinners. I ended up at a dinner sitting next to Sally Norton. I'm a very blessed woman. I should write a book because I don't know. Is it a coincidence that I just stumble upon awesomeness all the time? I don't know. I'm a blessed woman. So every time I've gone, I've made friends that I'm friends with to this day. I wanted to share some pictures from last year. Last year, I got invited to a dinner. Oh, this isn't the dinner. This is just a bunch of my friends. I think you guys know many of them. Most of these people will be there again this year. They always typically have the body spec trucks there. I don't know if they'll have the same company since they moved it to Florida, but you can get a DEXA scan while you're there. You're going to meet everybody you ever wanted to. And they're waiting for you to just come take a picture. I saved this because this is just funny. Last year, I had started my chronic weight gain prior to the conference. So I went on over 10 days. I think it ended up being 12 or 13 days of a sardine fast prior to the conference to try to feel better. And so I had packed, these are my sardine egg life wraps, and I ate nothing but sardines for a long time. You literally get to meet everyone that you ever loved. And I just, oh, look, she's holding my sticker, Dr. Boz. It meant so much to me to meet her. Here's the dinner I was talking about. I got invited and I didn't know anybody really. And now I would call several of these people friends. And I'm really great. It's just crazy. If somebody invites you to dinner and you don't know who they are, be careful, but it's probably going to be awesome. You get to meet, Ben Azadi, just walking around. There's lunches, and we'll probably share some of the places that we're going to go to lunch because people can come join us if they want. Really good friends. And it's just, only on certain meetups would you both have the salt with you, getting to meet Dr. Berg. And then the other guy, he's creating a documentary. This is our lunch table, and Dr. Chafee. I mean, it's like a full-time job to get a picture with everybody you want to get a picture with because all the good people are there. Oh, I cut it off over here. Over on the left is Life Like Jake. Dr. Amy Horniman, getting to meet her. I'm a huge fan as well of Stacy, on the record Stacy. These were some of my YouTubing buddies. They have all kinds of body hacking. So here's myself and Cindy Vonk getting our Zen on, which coincidentally actually gave me so much anxiety. I ended up stopping it. I don't know what they were doing to me, but I didn't like it. This is Dr. Lisa's lunch last year. This is Healing Humanity. We went to Healing Humanity, had a Brazilian steakhouse dinner, did the hyperbaric chamber. I know I'm missing some pictures here, but so if you want to come stay with us at the Radically Healthy Retreat. We have an Airbnb. We have several beds left. We would love to have you. Included is breakfast, snacks. I've rented a shuttle that we're going to be running around. And then it also includes the Healing Humanity and the Dr. Lisa dinners, which each dinner is $150 per person. So it's $300 per person. That's just included. So we're all going to go to those dinners. We have a chat going with everybody who signed up so far. Amazing people. And we are going to do a dinner at our house one night. We're probably going to go out to dinner the other night as a group. And then we're going to organize lunches so we can all eat together. I got us matching pajamas. I got us. And I bought extras. If you haven't bought your ticket yet, don't worry. I got pajamas for you too. And we have a king suite left. And if you message me, I'll give you a deal. But just keep in mind, it includes $600 worth of dinners. But we'll figure something out. I've got a king suite left, and I've got some twin beds left. And we'd love to have you. It's going to be such a great time. I love organizing this kind of stuff. So we'll have plenty of Coco Loco. I've been ordering organic coffee. I ordered 3 different kinds of organic coffee. This is the 7 weeks organic coffee. I got 2 different ones of those. And then I got the Dave Asprey coffee, the Danger coffee, and Purity. So I got 3 different kinds of coffee, and I also got decaf. I got 2 different kinds of decaf in case you're a decaffer. We're getting eggs from the 2 Crazy Ketos. So we'll have local farm fresh eggs and bacon and sausage. The bacon and sausage will be from the store, and lots of cheese and snacks and heavy whipping cream. And it's going to be such a good time. So please come sign up. We have a few beds left. We would love to fill the place. It's going to be such a great time. Let's see here. Oh, you just found me. Awesome. Next year, I will go next year for sure, I think. I love that conference. It's a lot of fun. They have like 1 million vendors. And this year they have some peptide vendors and they have some peptide speakers. So I'm excited about that. Extra fat, does it goes right through you? Does that go away after time? I think sometimes we need some digestive help. with those fats. And I'm trying to think, is it ox bile? There are some digestive supports that can help you with that. And the place that I always go to remember what they are is Nutrition with Judy. She has some great supplements, and of course I want you to support her company. It's a great company, but sometimes you can find a similar thing. It's just her list is really good. So you don't necessarily have to spend a ton of money. You could be careful on Amazon, guys. You want to make sure you're buying it from an actual company and not a distributor, because some of the distributors are people like me who have a garage. Not to say that I ever distributed supplements. I didn't, but we did distribute food, and no one came to check on us. Like, we're legit people, so it was fine. But I'm saying some illegit people could definitely be Amazon distributors and use not so great practices. So be careful on Amazon. And I think it's the same with Walmart. If you buy like Walmart.com, where you're buying from an independent distributor, just be careful, because it's scary out there. You eat grass-fed ground beef, New York strip, chicken, pork chops, salmon, eggs, yogurt, Parmesan cheese, not much dairy. That sounds like a great diet. It sounds like you're really on track. Ox bile. Let's see here. You'd probably frown on plant-based people coming in. I don't know about that anymore. The whole time I'm so grateful that I followed what I felt were non-dogmatic carnivores who from the beginning had said that we have things in common, and we do. We're both doing an elimination diet because we feel that if we eliminate certain things, we will feel better. So we have a lot in common in that way. But I know that some vegans that's not why they're doing it. And so I guess in that case, we don't have that in common. Although what we do have in common is that I love animals. I think they should be treated properly, and they should be fed a proper diet. And I don't think they should be injected with a whole bunch of stuff. But I also know the farmers will tell you, yeah, but we lost all this cattle because of this random thing that came. And so this is what was best for our cattle. And it's a tough one. Never had gallbladder issues, used digestive enzymes as well. That's good. Another thing I want to say about the carnivore thing. If we look at cutting all meat, we know often there can be nutrient deficiencies if people are not taking the added supplements. And people will not always feel well. They can get inflammation. They can get the buildup of the anti-nutrients. And there are some pretty big downsides of cutting all meat. We know that if we cut all fat, that there are downsides. And it took a long time to learn this, and I didn't learn it till the carnivore community, that when we cut all fat, down the line, we end up with stones and gallbladder issues. So now I think it's not a huge stretch to say that if we cut all carbohydrates, there could potentially be an issue in the long run as well. And what I'm seeing is, first of all, we're not using the pancreas we're not actively activating insulin responses to carbohydrates. So that process is going to get a little muddier instead of being robust. And then the next would be, we're finding out that it does affect the thyroid and the hormones, and that our thyroid and hormones want that energy, and they don't like to live in the deep, dark winter. That would be if we were only eating meat. So that is a thought that I was always friends with Joe and Rachel, the two crazy ketos, and they kept saying things that I didn't want to hear. And they said, listen, there's very little tribes that only eat meat. There's very little, if any, that only eat meat throughout all of time. Just about every society had some form of carbohydrate, and they knew how to preserve it. So they would have the root cellars for the squash, for the dried grain, for the dried nuts, for the dried fruit, for the dried everything. And they would do their best to prepare that for the whole winter to hold them over. And then we know that a lot of societies like to live closer to the equator so that there was multiple grow seasons. And so they could always have something, so we know that throughout time, carbohydrates were a part of a diet, and they only became a problem recently. It is a very recent problem. So when people say to me that it's very unnatural for me to take a peptide, I think it might potentially be unnatural to only indefinitely eat meat for the rest of our lives. Don't hate me! Please, don't hate me. If Jesus fed thousands a bunch of fish, I trust we should eat meat. I trust we should eat meat too. There's no doubt that there's been periods where, because I was told on The Biggest Loser to eat this much meat and fill the rest of the plate with green leafy veggies. And so most of my life, although I've eaten a very low carbohydrate whole foods diet most of my life as I was tracking all this stuff, it wasn't enough meat, I don't think. I don't think it was enough meat. And I think it was way too much veg with that anti-nutrient. And it should have been more, potentially more rice, more potato, more fruit. And that's hard. It's a really hard one, to be honest. And I have the gastric bypass to hold me back, but it's really hard not to jump from, to be honest, it's really hard not to jump from potatoes to our bread, which is full of anti-nutrients, which has been processed poorly, which has been fortified with these synthetic crap vitamins that a lot of people don't process very well. It's been GMO'd, it's been sprayed with glyphosate, and then highly pulverized and processed and a whole bunch of additives, and then we eat it. I did today go to the Whole Foods Co-op and I bought, and this is the second time I've done this in my whole life, but I did buy a loaf of sourdough organic locally made bread, non-GMO, to see if my family would like it. Where previously that was like, no grains, never again. But I think, organic, non-GMO, locally made, sprouted sourdough, I think that would, we generationally ate that forever, even into the Bible. So what else you guys got? Let me see what else I have on my notes here. I think I have more that I wanted to share. Oh, we should check our experiment too. I can feel it. I know it worked. Hold on. Okay, the other thing that's super exciting, you guys, and this isn't exciting. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know this is very serious. We had a very stressful week in our home, and it was like traumatic stress. It was, and I'm trying to do better about not being such an overshare. So I'm not going to fully share what happened in our home, but it was traumatic, and it felt like we were going to lose someone. We were very close to losing someone. I tried to stay cool all week. Sorry, now I'm going to cry. I tried to stay cool all week. I reached out to my friends who I met in the carnivore community, almost every one of them. And I felt like I was handling the stress so good. And then Thursday night, out of nowhere. And I've been, okay, so I've done some experiments with some not perfect foods that, like, I've eaten a sausage pancake stick. Okay, you guys, that's not good. Okay. But knowing that the Hack Your Health is coming up, I don't want to be inflamed. I don't want to feel like crud. And so I've been eating very, very specifically whole foods, squash, fruit, rice, potato, and my steak, my meat, my hamburger, my eggs, lots and lots of eggs. So I've been very strategic about not eating things that would aggravate my hypoglycemia. And Thursday night, I had the worst event I've had maybe in my whole life. And I probably should have called 911. But I've had these events so many times that I just thought, I know how to manage this. It's going to be okay. And what happened, I just got dizzy all of a sudden. But sometimes I get dizzy. And so I was like, maybe it won't happen. And you got to stay positive, because the more negative you are, the worse it can be. So you just stay positive. Try to take it easy. Drink some electrolytes. I always have my Coco Loco with me. Sorry, my mouth was getting dry too. And next thing you know, I was getting really angry. And that's weird for me. I'm kind of a sweetheart. I like to try to be a sweetheart. I try not to be like a mad, mean person. And when the blood sugar drops, I don't know what it starts at, but it goes roomp, fast, seconds, half a second, roomp. And it slammed me, started shaking and sweating. I knew that I had just gotten this in the mail. And so I was like, get my carnivore bar. Can somebody please, because when you get shaky like that, you can't walk. You're done. You're on the floor. Ooh, I have one fly in my whole house. You're on the floor. you can't walk. And so I asked my kids to bring me the glucose monitor. And then much to my stepmom's horror, because she had come over for dinner, I was like, grab the camera. And I was able to record myself dying. I took my glucose. When I captured it, which I'm not saying I got the bottom, but when I captured it, it was a 43. I then ate the apple carnivore bar, which just came back out. I also ate some banana. But previously to me adding carbohydrates, I wouldn't have added the banana. I would have just eaten the carnivore apple bar. It doesn't have very many carbs in it. These packages, let's see here. It has 12 grams of carbs, which actually sounds like a lot in the carnivore community. 3 grams of fiber. So it is grass-fed, grass-finished beef, grass-finished tallow, raw honey, organic raw apple, organic cinnamon, organic nutmeg. So the honey and the apple bring the glucose up slowly. If you bring it up too violently, you'll just crash again if you're a person like me. And so then you end up on this roller coaster, and it's a very serious roller coaster that'll just take you out. So ate my carnivore bar, took a quick shower because I'd sweat through my clothes in just minutes, and I passed out. I just barely rinsed off. I didn't even get dressed, and I just passed out in my bed. And I woke up and I was having shooting what felt like Charlie horses, but it went from the knee all the way up my chest and up and down my arms. I had these shooting Charlie horses, and I definitely probably should have called 911. But I'm fine. It did take a couple days to recover, but I'm just saying, if you're a person out there who, to me, it's no better indicator. When you have a person who has erratic blood sugar and they eat something, this stabilizes erraticness. And so if there's people out there who've considered they have blood sugar issues, I feel like this is a really good fit. And the reason is because you're getting that carbohydrate, just a touch, but you're also getting the fat and the tallow to keep you smoothed out. So you're not going to have these ups and downs. I believe people who are type 2 diabetics have eaten these and tested their glucose, and everybody's different. Do your own experiment or not. But it seems like it doesn't cause that huge spike that you would expect in a diabetic, and that it's much more of it's a much smoother riding. So I absolutely love these. If you guys want to try them, all the things that I have, there's discount codes down below, but I love apple pie. It's the best one. Now that I added a GLP-1, it's hard for me to eat the salted. I ate the salted in the plain for years, 2 years. That's all I would touch. I would not touch a honey. I would not touch a barbecue. I would definitely not touch an apple. I mean, these are so good. My kids think that they're candy bars. My kids think these are granola bars, and I have to hide them because otherwise they'll eat them all, not realizing that they just ate like $70 worth of carnivore bars, but at least it's good for them. So a really good trick is to put these in the freezer, and then it has like a crunch that's just totally addicting. It's so good. I do have to be careful personally with myself to just limit myself to a half a bar or a whole bar, because I could probably in a meal eat 3 of them, I'm going to guess. But there's 400 calories, 435 calories, 18 grams of protein, 35 grams of fat, 12 grams of carbs. So pretty delicious. And I believe my understanding is that this one's, nope, it says limited edition. I thought they said they were keeping it forever, but it's a limited edition. Dang it. Let's see here. Okay, let's check the coffee. Okay, so first of all, they said, be careful. Ooh, it's definitely hot. That's a good question. I use these, and there's a very specific reason that I use this. I was using the other company that's very big and famous, and they have amazing customer service. I have really good things to say about them, but my arms and legs would go numb when I would drink it. And so we had to identify why was that. And I think it's the synthetic citric acid they're using. I also have tested my blood sugar, and I'm so sensitive that the maltodextrin that they don't have on the label was affecting me. So I use Salty by Keto Chow because it doesn't have any maltodextrin. It doesn't have any citric acid. And this is going to sound crazy, but this Coco Loco is so good. Don't waste it on coffee. That's what I did for years. And then it just sat in my cupboard. When I finally tried it on ice water. So this is a huge mug. Okay. I put 1.5 packets in here, tons of ice, tons of water, and it's perfect. I have a 40 ouncer from Thermo Flask. And in that 40-ounce mug, I will put 1 packet. And that seems to be perfect. But I've been drinking this specific one every single day for a year and a half. After Lion Diet failed, I was like, restriction isn't the problem. What can I have that won't affect my blood sugar? Flavored electrolytes. And I allowed myself to have that. I had something right here. Like they have, like the other great flavors are the red, white, and BAM. And then they have the blue slushy. Here's red, white, and BAM. Blue slushy. I think they have the purple one. Is it grape? There's a purple one that's really good. There's some great flavors, but my go-to, Coco Loco. And then now I keep these next to my bed because like that shooting cramp thing that I had, I squirted some of the minerals in the daily minerals in my water, and I drank that, and it got rid of that shooting pain that I was having. So it was clearly an electrolyte imbalance problem. So I guess I'm glad I didn't rack up a ambulance bill because I wasn't going to be able to drive. And I did end up being fine. It was very scary. And when you go into ChatGPT and you tell them what happened, they go, that's bad. Call 911. Okay, so anyway, let's find out the temperature. 150. It's still 150. And we're going to see if there's steam. I think 150 is the highest, so this might be too hot. That is hot. It's hot for real. They said if you drink this and it goes empty, it will automatically go off for you, so you don't have to remember to turn it off. That's good. That's good. Who wants to drink cold coffee? Not me. I mean, this is such a nice gift. I definitely think you guys should get this for someone for Christmas. So it's already on, but you turn it on, you set the temp, you pick the temp, you set it. It'll show you what the current temp is. It'll warm it up to what you want it to and keep it there for up to 8 hours. So that's pretty cool. Am I missing anything? Let me look at my list here. There are so many things. Thank you guys for joining me today. I really appreciate that. If you guys could give this a like and go ahead and subscribe, unless you really hate my message because I am not 100% carnivore. I'll tell you what, though, it's sure still to this day to have periods like when we go to these meetups and it is a carnivore meetup and you eat nothing but carnivore, that still feels good to me. You can just feel, well, you're burning up your glycogen, but you can just kind of feel, it does feel good, doesn't it, guys? Okay, let me see what else I got on my list here. Sorry. I was writing because I was thinking of you guys all day long and how excited I was about this. So Thursday, Zane and I are going to talk. We got the Jenny Mitich book. Go get your copy. Tastee. Enzymes. Lots and lots of stuff on why someone might add carbs back. And I don't think that everyone has to. Like if you're in your sweet spot, and also if you're chronically ill and you need that break from your symptoms, until you can find a way to heal that, I think it's very valid to keep doing what gives you peace and energy every single day, because you're not going to find healing if you're bedridden and sick and having the spins and your arms and legs are going numb, like you're barely functioning. So you need to be able to function to really find healing. And I think I already said this, but if things don't seem to be getting better for you, then you want to maybe look into Jay Feldman, Mike Fave. I might be saying his name wrong. Someone that you might like too would be the Strong Sisters. They had one of the sisters had chronic illness and they were carnivore, and they've now gone more of the bioenergetic route. What I also love about them is, they've got their own farm. They're doing the homestead. They are bosses, and they were really pressured hard to be carnivore and to stay carnivore, and they continued to research and decided to go another route. So I find their story very interesting, and it's a good one to go look up. So anyway, I'm loving you too, Alicia. That's my sister-in-law's name as well. So that is a good name. I split one pack into 2 40-ounce mugs. Yeah, the thing about the electrolytes is people need to put, if you're not a sweet person, you water it out. If If you're not a salty person, you water it out. I think that everybody can find the right spot, and they just have to add or subtract water based on what's best for them, and not just stick with 1 packet per bottle. And then you're like, I don't like the flavor. And then you don't. For me, when you take some people who take a GLP-1, it makes you maybe not remember to drink as much, because it's that same hedonic mouth thing that's really calmed down. But when I have something that's tasty, that's also helping me get my minerals in, I'm just very motivated to just keep sipping and feel good about it, you know? So I highly suggest some good electrolytes for you all. I like their protein powders too. That's actually one of the reasons that I found them and liked them, was because they actually have the beef powder, and they actually have it flavored, and they actually give you an unsweetened version. You know, where the main company, Equip, theirs comes sweetened. So you don't have a choice. If you want flavored beef powder, it comes with sweetener. Well, if you have more peace without sweetener, what do? You go to Keto Chow. They are sourcing their beef powder from the same place. It's the same high quality beef powder, but you get the flavors. And then if you don't want any sweetener, that's what I did. Then you don't have to add it. But if you do like sweetener, you can pick your sweetener, because not everybody likes monk fruit. Not everybody likes sucralose. Not everybody likes stevia. I could chat with you guys all day and night. There's going to be a video posting, I think, tomorrow. And the sneak peek is that it is, should we go carnivore? Should we have gastric bypass? Should we go GLP-1? My thoughts after trying all 3 of them. And yeah, I think it's a good video, especially I know some people in the carnivore community, like Carnivore Kip. He has been struggling, and his wife, I guess, has had a lot of great success with gastric bypass, so he's considering it. So honestly, the video is dedicated to him. And I don't know if my editor will put that in there, but he is who I have in mind as I was speaking and thinking about what I would do if I were in his shoes. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Goodbye.